Hey guys, so it is the next day and our Charlie Brown Christmas tree is up. Actually, you probably can't see it very well. Hold on. No, that was the wrong button. I'm always screwing up the lights. Okay, there we go. This is our Charlie Brown Christmas tree. And I just wanted to show you some of my favorite ornaments on it that really mean the most to me. And the first one is this one. This has always been my favorite ornament. Mom made a bunch of these one year from a pattern she had bought. And if anyone recognizes this pattern and knows where I can find the pattern again, please let me know, because I would like to make a bunch of these for my own solstice tree. But you know, if anything should ever happen to Mom, you know, this little guy is going home with me. Let me see. Oh, my legs. Okay. This star, I have no idea where I got this from. I think I must have pilfered it from somewhere. I have no idea from where it came. It's plastic. It's gold. We just made a little ornament out of it. We just had it for years and years and years. And this one is a beautiful pewter keychain. Hold on, let me see if I can get this thing off. It's a gorgeous keychain. We bought this. We bought a few of them from this wonderful little store in Winterset, Iowa. Just this gorgeous little store. It was a two-story store. The upper level would have made amazing apartments. I actually fantasized living in one of those apartments. But I actually bought one of these keychains for myself, and unfortunately it didn't last very long because I always kept my keys in my pocket, and the pretty finial at the top kept breaking off, or kept bending and breaking up, because pewter is a very soft metal. But we kept one that we use on the Christmas tree every year as a decoration. And really, other than those three, the only other ornaments on here I really love are the cinnamon ornaments that Mom made one year. Because when we first made cinnamon ornaments, it was back in the early 90s when we lived out of the farm along the highway. And I will actually tell you some stories about that place at a later time, because the weirdest things happened to us. A lot of paranormal things kept happening to us at that place. But these kept their scent for years and years and years, until finally they just weren't very fragrant anymore. So Mom decided to make her own one year, and these are they. But I would like to make some again one of these days, because I have the cutest little gingerbread boy cookie cutter that I bought from Williams-Sonoma a few years ago, and I've been dying to break it out. Actually, I'm going to be breaking it out this year when I make some traditional gingerbread cookies. And in fact, that is what I wanted to show you today. So come with me to my kitchen. And actually, I just got done grinding up a whole nutmeg. I'm not using a whole nutmeg in this because that would be way too overpowering. But I am and pardon the mess, Mom just cleaned out Lulabelle's little drawer because she's not with us anymore. She passed away a few weeks ago. You know, the holidays are really gonna suck this year without her, because she was family. She was a little girl. But this year for Yule, I decided to do something a little different, and I am going to be making some gingerbread spice mix that I'm going to be using in my gingerbread cookies for this year. Usually, around the holidays, I make my great aunt Liz's molasses crinkle cookies. And I'll probably be doing that also, but I wanted to try something different this year. Besides, I really have a hankering to actually use that copper cookie cutter that I bought from Williams-Sonoma. Otherwise, it's just going to waste. So, the ingredients are, actually this is I have the recipe because the jar I'm going to be putting the mix in won't hold a whole half cup of spice mix. So I am just making a quarter of a cup, and I am just going to be mixing it in this pretty little glass that I got from my dad's girlfriend. She was just throwing out a bunch of stuff, and this was in the box, and I just kept it. So the things you will need are, hold on, I'm just switching hands. You will need 2 tablespoons of Chinese cinnamon. I actually use Chinese cinnamon because it's very similar in flavor to Vietnamese cinnamon, which is what we Americans use and what we think of as cinnamon. But it's got a subtleness to it and almost a floral aroma. It's really, really nice. Cinnamon is, of course, good for, well, it's ruled by Mars, the Sun, and Jupiter. It's really good for expansion. If you need to influence someone in a position of authority, it's really good for that. You know, judges, lawyers, what have you. Then we have a half tablespoon of ground cloves. And cloves are really, really good for nail-like metaphors in magic. They can seal spaces. They can silence things. You know, you can use them in stop gossip spells. You can use them to nail in information into your head. You know, you can use them to try and get through to someone who has a relatively thick skull. You can use them to seal metaphysical and physical doorways and portals and vortices. Then we have allspice. It calls for a half teaspoon of allspice. And this is fresh ground allspice. I buy whole allspice berries and I grind them by hand. It doesn't take too long. It really doesn't. I've never actually tried to grind cinnamon by hand because it's too woody, but the berries and the fruits, the nuts, those are really easy to grind. Allspice is a herb of Jupiter and Sagittarius. It's also good for sending messages at great distance, also for expansion, for prosperity and wealth in great abundance. Then you have aniseed. Anise is let's see, I'm just checking the recipe. It's a half teaspoon of aniseed. Anise is really, really good for communication, and every herb or spice or seasoning that is renowned for growing an abundance of seed, you know, even dill, for example, is really good for prosperity and fertility, for gambling, even for games of chance, for luck. Now we have some ginger. Ginger is a herb of the sun, Leo and Aries. It's a really good motivator. It will scribble a lot of metaphysical fire under a situation. You need a half teaspoon of that. Actually, this is probably 3/4 of a teaspoon because, you know, I like ginger, and I didn't think it had enough when compared to the cloves and the cinnamon. So I just added a little more. And this is nutmeg. I grind it by hand. I I normally use a box grater, but I really didn't feel like just standing over a box grater the whole time, so I just, put in some elbow grease and just ground it by hand in my big old mortar and pestle. Big enough that you could serve soup in that thing. Look at that. But nutmeg is a herb of, it's just associated with Pisces actually. It's a herb of Jupiter, Neptune, and Uranus. It's really good for visionary quests, for psychic ability, let me think. For improving the emotions. A famous nun actually made nutmeg cookies that she said uplifted the spirits. In fact, there are certain phytochemicals in nutmeg that does just that. It improves or augments your mood. A little bit like St. John's wort. And I also added just a dash of mace to it, which is a very similar flavor to nutmeg, but it's considered more refined. Mace is actually the areolodes that cover and surround the nutmeg nut meat. It's usually sort of a scarlet color. You can see it's sort of a bright orange color. And mace is actually really, really good for protection. It's not the sort of mace you find used in self-defense, but in magic it is actually used in some medieval grimoires. It's mixed with frankincense and used to consecrate the ritual circle to create a magical barrier. So it's really good for that. I mean, if you've looked at mace growing on nutmeg, it looks like a lacy cage surrounding the fruit of the nutmeg tree. And next we have, that was a quarter of a teaspoon of nutmeg, and again this is a quarter of a teaspoon of coriander. Coriander is really good in love spells and fertility spells and enchantments. It's a herb of Venus and Mercury, as well as the sign of Virgo and Libra. And finally we have some cardamom. Cardamom is a fabulous luck bringer. It is associated with, it will bring you luck and cash and money and prosperity. It is a herb of Venus, Jupiter, and Mercury. It is renowned for its seed. It has a lemony fragrance, a citrusy lemony fragrance, and any lemony scented herb will really draw to you a lot of good luck in a situation. Just luck by the fistful. But it is a herb of Jupiter, and Jupiter expands things, but it's got to have something to expand upon. It will bring you, prosperity and wealth and abundance and good fortune. It's a wonderful herb of good fortune. You need a quarter of a teaspoon of that, and actually, what you notice when you study herbal magic is that herbs associated with Jupiter are often fiery, they're often spices, but they're also herbs renowned for a very large stature. For example, clary sage leaves are associated with Jupiter, as well as the sign of Pisces and the moon. It's a herb of visionary expansion, psychic ability. And if you've ever grown sage leaves, you know that the leaves get extremely large. The essential oil actually smells nothing like the leaves. It actually smells beautiful and wonderful when compared to the very musky scent of the leaves. And cardamom actually grows in seed pods that are a few inches long, but the leaves on this plant are just tall, about 6 feet tall, and they are just large and huge and gigantic. So after you measure out the ingredients, all you really do is you just combine them together, you mix them up, and I'm probably going to do this off camera a little bit also, but once they are just mixed together, you just blend them together, and then I am going to be using this wonderful device. It's absolutely necessary, so we don't make a horrible mess. To just funnel the spice mix into the gingerbread spice jar. And really, when making a spice, it's probably best to let it sit for at least a week before you actually use it, to allow the spices to really emulsify, in a sense, to sort of gel, so that they really infuse their flavors together. And when I make spice mixes, when I cook with herbs and spices, I always charge the ingredients, and after I blend them together, I really catalyze their intention and focus it by agreeing upon a specific intent that I then charge the finished product with. And then you use its magic when you use the product itself. And I really hope you have a wonderful holiday season, and I will be speaking with you again sometime. I'm not sure when, because I'm really still grieving and mourning after the loss of my little girl. It was just such a shock, and she declined so quickly, and we just miss her to bits. It's just not right. And the fact that she died almost a week after the date that our other dog died it's like this sick cosmic coincidence. So I will be seeing you sometime. I'm not entirely sure when, but I will, and I will keep in touch. Thank you. So I realized that after I'd mixed it all together and put it in the spice jar, that I completely omitted the coriander when I first blended it. So silly me, I had to dump it back into a bowl and mix it up with the coriander spice. So while I've done that, I decided that I would just just finish off the little tutorial and just show you how it just gets in the bottle. And that is really all there is to it. It's really simple, and I cannot wait to try it in a new gingerbread recipe that I want to experiment with. And when I make those, I will probably do a tutorial as well. I plan on doing them like tomorrow or maybe the day after. So until then, I wish you a wonderful holiday season and a joyous new year. Hopefully better than our year has been for us.